Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey with one of these a bit sadistic videos towards my English-speaking audience because these books are available in many languages, but not in English, at least as far as I know, because somehow I don't believe that this book here, for instance, couldn't sell in English-speaking countries all over the world, because this is so timely and so beautifully written and drawn by Vittorio Giardino, Jonas Fink, The Enemy of the People, and the second part, actually two pretty thick books with more than 160 pages each, and The Librarian from Prague, is a saga. Think of my brother in names, Milan Kundera, and his famous prose novel, whose English title escapes me right now, Die unerträgliche Leichtigkeit des Seins. It plays before, during, and after the so-called Spring in Prague, or Spring of Prague, when there was a resistance against the Soviet occupation, and this was brought to an abrupt end with an invasion of the Russian army in Czechoslovakia, the former Czechoslovakia. And if you ever asked yourself why the resistance in the Ukraine is so strong right now, read these kind of stories, or read Milan Kundera, and you will know. I mean, it's a long, sad story, the Soviet occupation of a big part of Europe, and it's the injustice that it brought is almost immeasurable. And and this is not so depressing, since as you may guess, since it's a coming of age story of this guy here, and we follow him afterwards in his early 20s, and a group of friends. So it's about hope, it's about love, it's about many things, not only sad stuff. So, highly recommended to pick this up in whatever language you can get it. The other books here are much more lighthearted. Let's continue with two series that I know from my childhood. Now being republished by one pretty tiny, I guess, publisher, this Stefan Riedel Verlag, in collected editions. Pittje, for instance, is the story of this boy here, and Nelson, the pirate cat, and he was shanghaied by some terrible pirates. This is in German, he's called Hackepeter, but they have all translated names, funny names, like it's a bit like the game in Asterix, and you see much stuff here is happening that is fun for young and old, and there's not really killing involved, and if people are dying, then it's some kind of fun way. Here we have the cast of it all, some Viking dude and some always drunken dog here, and Shampoo, the Chinese cook. Pittje, or how the series was called in the Dutch magazines, brammetje, bram, or however it was called in the Flemish and Belgian ones. I don't know, it's sometimes a bit confusing. Here we have the creator, Eddie Ryssack, Ryssack, I guess. And as always, a bit of an introduction to this guy here. And so this was very much a one-man show here, and the more so impressive how this stories here turned out. Funny and very light-hearted and very easy read for in between heavy reading, if you will. And same goes for these series here, the mini-men, the mini-humans. This first volume collects stories from 1967 to 1970, and if you consider the date when the series here came out, again, almost a one-man show, even though we have the Monsieur Deprechine mentioned here, but it's for the most part Seron's, Pierre Seron's doing the series. Again, an introduction and bit of the publishing history in the start here. What really thrilled me when I read this as a kid was the tech stuff here, these vehicles. The idea behind the story is that all these people here in the city shrunk down sooner or later because of some kind of meteorite, some kind of minimizing kryptonite, however. And so, yeah, this is just the basic and of course a bit silly premise. But now they had to deal with the big ones, and they lived in a little tiny water tank in nearby one city, and could survive and thrive there. But at the end of this first collected edition, they move to a more convenient place. But I don't want to spoil anything for you. Overall, two highly enjoyable first collected editions by this SR publisher here, even though the reproduction qualities are a bit, they differ, and sometimes you have the impression that there could have been a bit more crisp reproduction if they had used another paper, or I don't know. But overall, this is just critique on a very high level. And here you see one of these little flying devices or rockets these mini-men used. And they really thrilled me as a kid. And I tried to rebuild these with cardboard. None of my meager prototype survived the years, but I remember this comic very, very fondly. A beautiful publication by the publisher Phoenix is this one here, Captivant, Captivant, however you want to pronounce it. The idea is quite meta, by Yves Chaland and his fellow cornillon. That this is a collected edition of a made-up magazine called Captivant. And so we have different art styles from Alex Raymond and to others, and Hergé-like comics, but all drawn by Yves Chaland and Cornillon. And the stories don't all excel, but it's this meta thing here that we see lots of experiments and lots of mocking the own colleagues here in terms of making fun of certain ways of storytelling and the like. So this is really a nice book if you're in for this kind of meta stuff here. And by the way, come on, focus. This was published in a print run of 600 issues, 600 hardbound books here. And I mean, this could be, and somehow this is possible to publish stuff like this in German. And so I always think it has to be possible that similar publications would sell in English in moderate price print runs. And maybe 1,000, 2,000 copies or so. I think they should easily sell. Last but by no means the least comic here is Canardo by Sokal, who passed away recently. These are only the first 6 albums, because I heard that the quality of these stories decreased over time, mostly because Sokal didn't draw and wrote the stories anymore, but his assistant. But I don't know, maybe I try out if this is true and buy later albums as well in the future. Don't buy these collected hardbound editions by the German Schreiber und Leser Verlag. Schreiber und Leser is a fantastic publisher most of the times, but they shrunk down these comics yearly to that size, and it's almost unreadable, at least with my old eyes. When you look at these panels here, you can maybe see the reason why it's not a good idea to shrink down the stuff here. There's something to his coloring that is exciting, but a bit blurry and unclear, and it's not really linear clear. I mean, it fits the genre, of course. It's crime noir with anthropomorphic characters. Let's think of Black Sad with lots of underground vibes. It's not so pristine and precise as Black Sad, but it has these underground vibes, alcoholic animals that shoot each other, and they they kill each other, and there's lots of more or less senseless violence, and violence with sense, and bone dry humor. And I love the series here. It's fantastic stuff with an evil tomcat called Rasputin, and chain smoking dogs. Come on, it's maybe the reason why I always shied away of starting, and up to this day shied away of starting Black Sad, because I can't believe that Black Sad comes close to this series here. But maybe it's unfair to publish to compare these two stories here. And of course, for those of you from the US or so, will see Howard the Duck all over the place here. I don't know. I just know too few Howard the Duck stories to really compare to that here. Yeah. Rasputin, the Russian tomcat, wants to rule the world together with the devil. The devil is also in here, and lots of and a crazy bear here who becomes a serial killer. And we have in the last album even an anthropomorphic version of Ernest Hemingway, which is very fitting. By the way, after the 6th album, you have some kind of conclusion. So still the possibility of the series to go on further and further is there, but you have enough sense of conclusion to say, okay, for me, the stuff here is finished. If you're lucky enough to have this stuff here available in your language, hunt down these comics here. I mean, these are beat up like hell, but I was very glad to get the whole run on eBay. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.